Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory. My name is Aaron Espinoza, and I am the Library and Observatory Director. As I was watching everybody kind of come in, I think I saw a lot of new faces. Can I get a raise of hands of how many people are here for the first time? Fantastic. Thank you, Harlan. The Rancho Mirage Writers Festival Writers Series was created to be a give back to the community. In addition to bringing you some terrific authors, this is the 8th author in which we are offering free books to everyone in attendance. If you excuse me for just a moment. Dustin, can I get the music off, please? Thank you. I also want to introduce somebody, Jamie Kabler, the Rancho Mirage Writers Festival founder. It is his commitment to giving back to the community. Our next Writer Series event is May 6th, when we will welcome back Douglas Brinkley talking on his new book, American Moonshot, the John F. Kennedy and the Great Space Race. Today, we welcome Harlan Coben. With over 70 million books in print worldwide, Harlan is a #1 New York best-time seller author, 31 novels including Runaway, Fool Me Once, Tell No One, No Second Chance, and the renowned Myron Bolitar series. His books are published in 43 languages around the globe. Some of you did receive signed copies of the books. For those of you that did not, or that if want them personalized, after today's event, we are going to ask that you line up against this wall to your left, and Harlan will personalize those outside. So we'll line up here, and we'll sign outside. Harlan is the first writer to win the Edgar Award, the Seamus Award, and the Anthony Award. Please join me in welcoming #1 New York best-time seller, Harlan Coben.
Thank you. Great. Wow, thank you guys. Wow, it's so nice. It's so nice to be here. Thank you. It's great to be back here in Rancho Mirage. I don't know how many of you know this. I was actually born just east of Rancho Mirage in Newark, New Jersey. So it's really a great honor for me to be back home amongst my people. Thanks for the wonderful greeting. So the book came out a couple Tuesdays ago, and the first thing I do when I go out on book tour is I usually do the CBS Morning Show with Gayle King. And what I love most about doing that show is I get to wear makeup. I look so good with makeup. I glow. And when I leave, they hand me this moist towelette to wipe it off. I'm like, no, I'm good. I got an event tonight. I look good. So one time I'm tweeting all of this, and all of a sudden my phone is blowing up with my 4 kids. Stop tweeting about makeup. I don't normally do impressions. I'm not known as an impressionist, but I do one. My teenage daughter. So when a book comes out, there's usually an ad in a newspaper with this big photograph on the back. So you can imagine the pride that my teenage daughter feels when she sees her father's picture in the paper like this. So here's my quick impression. Okay, it's the morning it comes out. I leave the paper right on the table for her to see. She's coming down, going to school. Here it is. Ew. Thanks. Thank you. And if any of you follow me on Instagram or anything, any picture I put of myself, there's always 2 comments from my daughters, either ew or can you not. That's usually the 2 comments that I get from them. Okay, so Runaway is my 31st book, believe it or not. Wow, yeah, 31st book. I've averaged about 1 a year, so I started when I was 8. That was where I started. But we'll talk in a second about writing, because the thing about writing is I'm always a little worried because a book is I always say a novel is a little bit like a sausage. You might like the final taste. You probably don't want to know how it was made. You know what I mean? So that being said, I'm going to try to open up the brain and try to let you in on the creative writing process, as weird as that. Oh, wait, before I do that, don't worry, nothing is organized. This is how we go. We're having fun. We're just going to keep going. So I got the funniest one-star review on Amazon the other day. I have to share it with you, because it's almost a haiku. Every once in a while, a one-star review is brilliant. So here, I'm going to read you the one-star review. Never received it. Don't think I ordered it. 1 star. Never received it. It's not like there's like a genius in there. Like, you can study that. Never received it. Don't think I ordered it. And yet felt the need to put a 1-star review. You guys are like going to this, this is a book. I've never received this one. I'm not sure I even ordered it. 1 star. People crack me up. I love people. Okay. So now we'll get a little serious here. We will talk some real things here. I know it's a little bit of a bummer. We're having fun, but we'll get back to the fun part too. But the first question that a writer is always asked when they're on book tour is, where do you get your ideas? Like, there's a boutique in the village that sells them. And the truth is, anything can stimulate an idea. A tabloid headline, boy 16 becomes grandmother, marries Ed Asner. You know what I mean? Like, anything can stimulate an idea. You have to sort of open up the brain, and you let things flow in, and every once in a while, they get caught in these little brain hooks. And I'm going to try to tell you how specifically I've done a couple of the books. Again, not a pretty process, but we'll deal with it. So a few books ago, or a few years ago, I should say, I overheard, to be serious for a moment, I overheard a couple of teenagers talking about drinking and driving. And I pulled them aside, and maybe some of you have done something similar, and I said, promise me, title of the book, you won't do that. Promise me you won't get in a car with someone who's been drinking and driving. Here's my phone number. I don't care what time it is. I don't care what you're on. I'll pick you up. I'll drive you. I won't tell your parents. Just promise me you won't, right? So in real life, nothing else happens. But fiction writing, all of fiction writing is asking what if all the time. Well, what if a teenage girl in New York City calls my hero? What if he goes and picks her up and drops her off at what he thinks is a friend's house? The next day, she's gone, and he was the last person to see her. What if? That's the start. That's an example of a start of one of the books. Hold Tight, I'm sorry, not Hold Tight, Just One Look started with doing something we used to always do. Do you remember the days when we would actually go to like a photomat and pick up our family photos way back then? Remember that, like 4 years ago? So I was picking up my family photos. As I'm going through them, for a second, just a split second, I thought there was a picture in there I didn't take. It turns out the picture was just upside down. Not the brightest ball, but go ahead. But as I sit there, I go, what if there's a photograph in here I didn't take? What if that photograph changed my whole life? And that was the start of Just One Look. So every book kind of starts that way. It's always asking a what if. In the case of this book, I was sitting in Central Park. The very first line of this book reads, Simon sat on a bench in Central Park, in Strawberry Fields to be more precise, and felt his heart shatter. So I'm sitting in Central Park, and I don't know if you guys have been to this part of Central Park where the John Lennon Memorial is in Strawberry Fields, and there's always a street musician, usually it looks like somebody strung out on drugs, mangling a John Lennon tune horribly, and I'm watching this person strangling, and I go, well, what if? What if I'm Simon, and I look across, and the strung-out young woman playing the music and begging for money is his daughter who's been missing for 6 months. And as he approaches her, everything goes wrong. That's page 1. You guys can handle the next 70-something pages yourself. But that's how it kind of started, with a what if. Sometimes anger is what gets me to write. For example, the first time I wrote a female lead character, it was because I was really tired of the bad Women in Jeopardy novels. You know the ones I'm talking about, where the heroine is like naive to the point of actually being hit over the head with a baseball bat? It's like, gee, there's a serial killer loose in the woods. I think I'll rent a secluded cabin, not tell anybody where I'm going, and hang out in my bra and panties all day. Please, in this day and age, are we still putting up with that kind of thing? There's this, when I'm on the road, I'm always flipping stations because I'm a man, and that's what men do. And I go past the Lifetime movie network, and there's still a movie on all the time. It stars one of our top actresses, Tori Spelling, whom, like you, I often mistake for Meryl Streep. I'm never sure. No, this was Tori Spelling, not Meryl Streep. It was one of those two. But it's a movie. It's on all the time. Some of you have maybe seen it. The title of this movie is Mother, May I Sleep with Danger? No! This should be a very short movie. Donna Mills or Jacqueline Smith, whoever it is who plays the mother role, says no. We go on. First of all, his name is Danger. Clue one, he might not be for you. So those sort of things, those sort of angry things make me say, well, why don't we write about a realistic heroine? Not one who's hanging alone in the house going, honey, answer the door to the strange man. I'm going to go take a shower. You know? So that kind of thing will inspire you to try to write. I'm being a little cute about how to come up with the idea because, unfortunately, these sound very, very simple, don't they? First of all, this is 3 months of work, ladies and gentlemen. This is 3 months of sitting on my couch going, no, honey, I can't throw out the garbage. I'm working. Can't you see I'm working? Hardest part of my job, convincing my wife I have one. But I'm going to tell you one more because really it's kind of more like, have you ever had one of those nights when you're lying in bed and you can't fall asleep because you can't remember the name of the dog on Petticoat Junction? You know what I mean? Like you're sitting there going, there's Bobby Sue and Uncle Joe, and what the hell was that dog's name? I don't remember. And then you wonder, how did I start thinking about something so stupid? And you try to trace your thoughts back, and it goes all over the place. And originally, you were thinking, how come Burger King doesn't serve Mountain Dew? You know what I mean? Like it's just bouncing. That's kind of more how it works. So I'm going to tell you how I came up with one more idea, a little bit more specifically, that may give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. First of all, I was watching a really, this is what I mean by anything can stimulate an idea. I was watching a really crummy romance movie on TV. I'm not going to mention the movie's name, Message in a Bottle. And I'm watching this movie, and it's this classic story that we've seen a million times where the man loses the love of his life. She dies. You've seen these movies, right? The man loses her. She loses the light of his life, the only woman he'll ever love, until a hot babe walks by, and then he's fine again in these movies. Have you noticed that, ladies? So I said to myself in those moments I get serious, what about the man who can't go on? What about the man who's truly lost his soulmate and can't move on with his life? Is there a way I could find redemption for him? So I have this part of the idea, and I'll put it over here. The second part of the idea, to get serious on you for a moment, is my parents died fairly young. I miss them greatly. For those who read the Myron Bolitar books, his relationship with his parents is what I imagine my relationship would be with my parents had they survived. So I get too sentimental and corny, tough. It's my therapy. Skip them if you don't like them. So I'm thinking the same way we all do. Wouldn't it be great if they were alive? Wouldn't it be great if they could have met their grandchildren? And I'm looking at one of those street cams, and I think to myself, what would I do if I saw my parents right now in this street cam? And I took these two ideas, and I smashed them together. A man and a woman happily married. The wife is murdered. 8 years pass. He still can't get over death. He gets an email. He clicks a hyperlink. He sees a webcam, and his dead wife walks by. Right, a little Homer Simpson part of my brain goes, woohoo, that's that moment like a dog. You start kicking. Like you got the scratch in the exact right place. Again, 3 months of work that was. I just broke down to you in 4 seconds. But these are some of the ways that I've come up with book ideas. Next question I usually get is, do you know the ending before you start? Do you outline? I don't know, is there anybody in this room who writes? How many of you who write outline when you write? How many of you who write don't outline? We don't have a lot of writers in this room. Either that or... Of course, I also can't see a dang thing with this lights on going on here. I know the beginning and I know the end. I compare it to driving from my home state of Newark, New Jersey, right near Rancho Mirage, all the way across here to Rancho Mirage, right? I may go Route 80. Chances are I'll go via the Suez Canal or stop in Tokyo, but I always end up in Rancho Mirage, right? E.L. Doctorow has my second favorite quote on writing, where he says that writing is like driving at night in the fog with just your headlights on. You can only see a little bit ahead of you, but you can make the whole journey that way. My favorite quote on writing, and if you learn nothing else today, like you're learning something, remember this quote from the great Elmore Leonard, who said, I try to cut out all the parts you'd normally skip. Right? Is that not genius? I try to cut out all the parts you normally skip. And that's how I write. I write with that energy. Every paragraph, every word, every sentence, I ask myself, is this compelling? Is this gripping? Is this moving the story forward? And if it's not, I have to change it. Doesn't mean you can't have big ideas. You have to. You have to have the heart. You have to have the themes. But even those, every single thing has to be compelling. I write as though there's a knife against my throat, and if I bore you, I'm dead. I write as though we are cavemen and we are sitting around a circle, and if I bore you, that guy's going to pick up a big rock and smash it over my head. That's how I try to write, with that fear and energy in everything I do, and I highly recommend, if you're trying to write, do that. So if I'm not boring you, that's why. By the way, I'd like you tonight to do me a favor. Take this book to bed when you go to sleep at around 10 or 11 o'clock and say, I'm just going to read for 10 minutes. And then curse me at 6 in the morning because you stayed awake all night. Because I'll be honest, that arouses me. Okay, that excites me very, very much. I know it shouldn't, but it does. Okay. Next thing, setting. Setting can be really boring, or it can be something really interesting. And I try using setting. The key of setting is to find the one little thing that brings it all to life. For example, I'm a member of a group, I was talking to somebody about it before, called the Adams Roundtable. It's a bunch of writers. We meet once a month in New York City. And let me just think, Mary Higgins Clark, Lee Child, Nelson DeMille, Susan Isaacs, Linda Fairstein, who I know is coming here, Carol Higgins Clark, Lawrence Block. And one time the subject came up is, what's the scariest noise in the world? Is it a man screaming, a woman being tortured, a baby crying? And one of the members goes, no, 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 no. You're all alone in that little house I was describing before in the woods. You're all alone in the little house. You're all alone. You know you're all alone. You're downstairs. You're all alone. And from upstairs, you hear the toilet flush. That's the moment you're looking for as a writer, the flush toilet moment, if you will. So if I'm describing to you Route 23 in Wayne, New Jersey, I won't tell you it's 4 lanes across the divider in the middle with a lot of mattress stores. We have a lot of mattress stores in New Jersey. I have no idea why. A ton. Anyway, I won't tell you that, but what I will tell you is, there's a tattoo parlor on Route 23 in Wayne, New Jersey called, think about this, Tattoos While You Wait. Like, how else would you do it? Here's my arm. Put a skull and crossbones on there. I'll be back around 3. Tattoos While You Wait, by the way, actually appears in this book because I was just sitting there looking at it for 15 minutes going, Tattoos While You Wait. But that tells you more about Route 23 in Wayne, New Jersey than Pages. If I was telling you about, we're very honest people in New Jersey. If I was telling you about Route 17 in Ramsey, New Jersey, I would tell you it has one of those no-tell motels, the ones I'm talking about, with a sign saying, now featuring towels. You know what I mean? This gentleman does. Thank you, sir. Now featuring towels. And actually says color TV. I'd go to a hotel that had a black and white TV at this stage. But color TV, and they spelled the word color like the C is in green, the O is in red, the L is in orange, in case you don't know what the word color means. But this particular one in Ramsey, New Jersey, is called the Fair Motel. We're not great. We're not even good. We're fair. What do you expect here? We know what you're here for. It's fair. We're at a fair motel. That, again, will tell you more than pages and pages and pages of dialogue. Research. We always get this question. Man, you must do a ton of research. And you're going to have Doug Brinkley here, who's a good friend of mine, who he actually does research. I'm going to tell you, if you're writing fiction, I'm the only author who will tell you this. You've heard a million authors, my friend. How many have said to you, don't do research? None, right? I am going to tell you not to ever do research. Don't do as little research as humanly possible. I am from the hum a few bars and fake it school of research for a couple of reasons. I'm actually going to defend this position. One, if you're trying to write, this is for those who are trying to write in the room, the one person I think who raised their hand. So you listen, sir. The rest of you just ignore me. But researching is a lot more fun than writing. So I'll find any excuse not to write. I'll wake up in the morning, I go, I'm going to write, but first, let's put aluminum siding on the house. Anything to avoid the moment you're going to write. And research is fun, so it's the best excuse. So I'll be like, I have to write this scene in Park Avenue in New York. But first I have to go and smell the hot dog stands and watch the girls go. No, 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 no. You know what it's like. You have an imagination. You go, write. Then worry about it. So don't use research as an excuse not to write. The second thing is, have you ever read that novel where the author's learned a ton of cute factoids, and so he keeps slowing down the story by telling those factoids to you? Not a problem with me. I don't know that much. Third, you may notice in this book, one of the lead characters is a pediatrician. If you remember, Tell No One, David Beck was an inner city pediatrician. I've done a lot of doctors. Why? My wife's a pediatrician. So my research is, honey, what would happen if... I highly recommend it, by the way. How long does it take to write a book? It usually takes me about 9 months. I compare it to childbirth. The best part's the idea. This guy didn't get it. Can someone explain it to him? Some days you feel great and you're glowing, and some days you feel like there's a dump truck parked on your bladder. And at the very end, ladies, you can help me here. You just want the dang thing out, right? So I think it was our second kid. We get to the hospital, and because we men had learned Lamaze. By the way, Lamaze, the Marquis de Lamaze, because only a man could have come up with the idea of why does a woman need anesthesia when she can breathe, right? I mean, what a moron this guy was. So anyway, I took Lamaze class, and we also learned that sort of FM disc jockey voice to talk to our wives to, which drives them completely nuts when they're in pain. It's like, honey, I spoke to the doctor. He's on his way. And my wife is like, I don't care if the janitor delivers it. Get it out. That's how it is with a book. So if the book is 400 pages long, it takes me 9 months. At the 8-month mark, I'll maybe be on page 200. The last day of this book, I wrote 40 pages in one day. Not a pretty day. You don't want to hang with me. I grow a playoff beard. I don't shower. My kids are like, throw daddy a banana and run. Wife takes out a hose, all that kind of thing. But that's how, when I see the ending, boom, I just kind of explode through it. There's 3 things that make a writer. 2 are obvious, 1 is not so obvious. The 2 that are obvious, inspiration, well, you have to be inspired to write a story. So that's number 1. Let's just move that aside. The second is perspiration, and that is you have to do the work of writing. And only writing counts as writing, again, for the person in the room who's writing. Creating characters is not writing. Outlining is not writing. Thinking of stories, ideas is not writing. Hanging with your friends at Starbucks is not writing. Only writing is writing. Only those moments when a word appears on a page or a screen counts as actual writing. Everything else is flotsam and jetsam. Get your butt in the chair and write. So, we have inspiration and we have perspiration, but the third and most important is desperation. And that is, I'm not fit to do anything else. Like hold a real job. I'm really forgetful. I've already forgotten 3 interviews on this tour. I left my jacket on the plane yesterday and had to go back for it. I have no other marketable skills. I'm disorganized. I'm not the brightest bulb you ever met or anything like that. This is all I was on a panel once with a bunch of writers, and we're always asked the question of, if you weren't a writer, what would you be? And one of my friends goes, a U.S. senator. I'm like, oh, please. I'd be a duvet cover. I mean, this is it. This is the only skill I have. And that fear drives me always back to write, because it's all I can do, and I don't want to ever have a real job. So that fear is one of those things that makes you come back and write. Writing is full of insecurity. I don't care who you are. If you have a writer up here who tells you how great they are, trust me, they stink. Only bad writers think they're good. Only bad writers. We are all insecure. I know some really big famous writers, and we all think we suck kind of a little bit. So you have to kind of accept that. You live with that sort of insecurity. When I'm writing a book, I'll be writing a book and I'll go, oh my God, I lost it. I was so good before. What happened? How did I lose it? 5 minutes later, this is sheer genius. Someone's going to give that book a read and not give this work of Shakespearean proportions, really, a chance. Within 5 minutes, it never stops. There's always a voice in a writer's head that says, you should be writing. If you're a writer and you don't have that voice, probably give it up. Like, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm driving a carpool, if I'm doing anything, I always have this voice in my head that says, you should be writing. Because I had nothing in my life but my family and my books, a number of years ago, I took up golf. Why I didn't smash a glass and jam it in my eye, I don't know. Instead, I took up golf. But even those moments when it's beautiful out, you're hitting the ball okay, and things are great, there's always a voice in my head that says, you should be writing. It's usually the guy I almost did with my errant tee shot, but that voice never kind of goes away. That insecurity, that doubt, that fuel never goes away. I think when it does, it probably means I'm just about out of stuff. It's time to really retire. And every book you're done, whenever you finish a book, when I write a book, if I have an idea while I'm writing it, it ends up somehow in this book, which may be why I stuff my plot so much. So when I finish a book, I'm like a boxer in the last round who can't even lift it. There'll be no rematch, Howard. I can't throw a punch. There's nothing left. And the voice in my head then says, that's it. You're done. You're out of ideas. You get the home version of being a writer on your way out, but you're done. You're not going to have any more ideas. And what you start to realize is it's like you finished climbing a mountain, you're exhausted, and then way in the distance you start seeing another mountain in a few weeks, and maybe you're going to want to climb that one too. This is the exciting time for me. One of the other things, I do a whole bit on things that writers say that annoy me. Here's two quick ones. One is the writer who says, I always knew I would be a writer when I was a 3-month-old fetus. A pen formed in my mother's womb, and I scratched out several sonatas before coming out. And then children, I love this, children gathered around me in the playground as I told them pirate tales of, whoa, like, my neighborhood got beaten up, and I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. It wasn't really very tough. So I don't buy that for a moment, that stuff. I hate that. So that's one thing that writers say that annoys me. But the other one that writers say that really annoys me is a writer who goes, I write only for myself. I don't care if anyone reads it. That's like saying, I talk only to myself. I don't care if anyone listens. Right? Writing from the beginning of time is about communication. This is the cool part. This wasn't a book until now. A writer without a reader is a man who claps with one hand. I said claps, sir. Claps with one hand. You guys are that other hand. So now you're going to take this book home, right? And you're going to read about Simon and Ingrid and Ash and Dee Dee, and they're going to come to life in your heads different, like a fingerprint from everybody else's. It's a one-on-one thing that you and I have going on. And that's still so cool. That's still the part that jazzes me. I mean, how lucky am I that I get to kind of do that? A couple of things, and I'm going to open it up for questions because you guys have been really great. But, first of all, I want to read you a favorite 4-star review. So it's out of 5 stars, 4 stars out of 5 stars. This one just came in. I never actually read my own reviews, but my friends, of course, send me these ones because it's like the one time I was lucky enough to have the honor of throwing the first pitch of the Yankees game a few years ago. So all my friends sent me the YouTubes of the guys who had really done poorly and embarrassed themselves. You know what I mean? So I could be like really nervous before I went out there. So friends do that, you know. So here's the 4-star review. The book would have been 5 stars, except that I read it over the holidays. That means I was interrupted too many times and had to put the story down. That seems like my fault. I would have given me 3 stars and deducted 2 stars. First of all, Jamie's a legend, by the way, amongst writers. So can we give it up one more time for Jamie for setting this up? And you guys know this, but this facility and a great library is so vital. I don't know any great community that doesn't have a great library like that. You know what I mean? And you guys have one of the best I've ever seen. And these kind of things, they make your house more expensive, but they're also increasing your property values in a good way. I mean, this is, you know, like I tell people when I want to go to an independent bookstore, what, you want another Gap here? You think that's going to help? This place really boosts what this town is. And I'm so really happy. Thank you. I'm really thrilled. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I have no idea how much time has passed, but we're going to start taking some questions now from people. Can we do that? Is that all right? Have I gone on long enough? Whoa. Oh, wow. There's a lot of you out there. The flight was in my eyes. Hi, how are you? Okay, first question. Here we go.
I really enjoy your books.
Thank you.
But
she really enjoys my books,
yes.
For those who couldn't hear in the back.
But my question is,
yes.
Do your daughters read your book, this particular book, because we just finished it?
Yeah.
And do you change their toothbrushes?
I don't change their toothbrushes. First of all, I have 4 kids.
That's in the book.
Out. Yes, I have 4 kids. If anybody wants one, you know. They're actually pretty great. But what's funny is, yes, they all read the book now. And when I finished this particular one, They all read it in a day. We were on vacation. I got them electronic copies to read. And then they spent the rest of the trip arguing which one of them was the drug addict kid. Oh, that's definitely Charlotte. No, it's Ben. I'm telling you, it's Ben. They were going back and forth arguing over which one of them was the drug addict kid. But yes, they do read the book. You know, it's funny. They used to kind of be embarrassed about it, but now they really like them. And it's really, I mean, they all read it in one day, all four of them. And it must be weird to read your own dad's book, I think. But they make fun of me in every other way. If you ever go on my stuff, I sometimes put the tweets. So I had one in France. I'm very big in France. Don't ask me why. I'm like Jerry Lewis and Brie for some reason. I keep telling my German publisher I want to be David Hasselhoff and Knockwurst, but it doesn't seem to happen. So the French put Metro posters of me, and literally, I have a photo I'll show it to you later, where they had me lying down like this. And I had no idea how they got it. It must have been like one of those scenes in a movie where like, go ahead, honey, unbutton one more button. Okay, just one more. Somehow I must have been drunk on wine. I ended up like this, so it's the weirdest picture. So I sent it to my daughter, who screams, first the response is just the word, no, all the way across. And then she goes, it looks like a sex poster in Amsterdam. Which begs the question of how she would know that. All right, anybody else? This lady right here in the front.
Yeah. Oh.
You first, then you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
This is probably a question that maybe you've been asked before. When you start to write a book and you get, let's say, 10 chapters done,
right,
and you say, wait a minute, I'm going to go back and change something in the front of the book to match this.
Right. Never happens with me.
Oh, okay,
seriously, never
thank
happens.
you.
It happens a lot, actually, with a number of writers. Lee Child has a good explanation for it. Like, he says, if I already wrote it, it already happened that way. So I can't, like, change it now. I can't go back and change it. I'm not that extreme. I'll change it. But for the most part, I mean, I go back and change little things, but I'm able to just keep going forward and not have that issue. That's just my, yeah, thanks.
Of all the books you've written, which brought you the greatest satisfaction?
Of all the books I've written, which has given me the greatest satisfaction? Runaway, now available in hardcover. Which is both self-serving answer and somewhat true. Let me explain quickly why I say that. The book that usually the book that's most current is my favorite. One, because it's self-serving, but two, because you ever had that, like the paper you wrote when you were in college maybe, and you find it now, and you thought it was brilliant, and you go, wow, this really stinks? That's kind of how it is with old books. Like, I see all the seams in the old stuff, and it's kind of like, what did that guy know? You know what I mean? So I usually do like the most current one. You guys don't necessarily have to, but I usually like the most current one. The first breakout book, my first New York Times bestseller was Tell No One, the one I was describing to you about the guy, one where the wife was murdered and then she sees her on a computer screen. And I have a great love for certain Myron Bolitar novels. The truth is, it's like picking your, which is your favorite child. They all drive me nuts. They all drive me nuts. Thank you. Anybody else?
How much influence do your editors have on your work?
How much influence do my editors have? In my case, almost none. And not because it's just, I hand in a pretty clean manuscript. My editor doesn't do very much. And my books are set up a little bit like a Jenga puzzle, where if you pull out one thing, that thing's going to collapse. I mean, it's pretty, so it doesn't really happen. Usually my editors are more like, you had someone go to bed on Tuesday and wake up on Friday. They find those kind of mistakes. Maybe I meant that intentionally. I don't know. Maybe he was doing a lot of stuff. But rarely do they change very much. My editor, I had the same editor for 10 books, and then he left and moved houses, and now I'm back with him. This is the first book with my new publishing house in 17 years. So, yeah. A lot of hands up. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Yes, hi.
Have you ever considered doing stand-up comedy?
Let's be honest, you guys are an easy audience. Come on. We didn't serve you any alcohol. Yes.
Are you going to do more Mickey and Myron Bolitar books?
Am I going to do more Mickey and Myron Bolitar books? Mickey, probably no. The Myron question, for those who don't know, Myron Bolitar is a series character that I've written in 11 books. So I'm going to tell you why I left him and why I think I'll be back to him again. So I wrote 7 Myron books in a row in 5 years. And so I stopped writing them for 3 reasons, or really 2. One was ego. I wanted to prove to myself that I could write a book that wasn't Myron. And I'd also be afraid that standing on the stage, I'd be talking to you many years later about the 31st Myron Bolitar novel. And I always wanted to be personal. Myron never solved a crime like Hercule Poirot. I always wanted to be that special episode of Blossom, Myron Bolitar novel, where he was always doing something personal. But how many catharsis can a man go through before you want to smack him in the back of the head? So there is a limit to him. Anyway, that's reason 1. But reason 2 was I've opened my brain up and explained to you how I come up with ideas. I come up with idea first, character later. So I came up with that idea for Tell No One, a man and a woman married. And 8 years. Well, he didn't have a wife who died 8 years ago. So Myron couldn't tell the story. So each book, I ask myself, I do that thing, then I say, who's going to tell the story? So for 6 years in a row after that, Myron couldn't tell the story. Then I came up with that idea I told you about for Promise Me. I said, like, who would be dumb enough to make this promise to a teenage kid and not tell their parents? Well, that would be Myron. So Myron came back. So I don't want to do it for the wrong reason. I don't want to bring Myron back because you want him back. I don't want to bring Myron back in the literary equivalent of the Harlem Globetrotters visits Gilligan's Island. You know what I mean? So if it's not the best Myron book I can write, I thought Home, which was the last one, was the best one I could ever write, then I'm not going to do it. But I assume I will do it again. I don't think it's over. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. I love that you people still want Myron back. Trust me, I love that. All right, pass around the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, Harlan.
Hi. Whoa.
Right here.
Okay, hi, how are you?
Good. I wanted to ask you, so I'm an identical twin, and we love your books. We're
thank
obsessed.
you.
But, so
Which
we're
one found the books first? You or your identical twin?
I did.
So you're the smart twin.
I'm
You're
the smart one.
twin.
I'm the
Okay.
smart one. Our birthday's coming up, and she told me that the book I sign has to be in her name, that you're going to sign.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, I'm going to surprise her. But my question is when?
When?
So Myron's best friend.
Yes, when.
When? How did you come up with when? Complete opposite,
Yeah.
but he's the guy that's real dreamy, and the rest of us
Right,
really
and
think
dangerous.
super cool. Exactly.
Does a twin like Win too, or does a twin? I find women are either Win or Myron, so it's interesting. But no, Win is this sort of psychotic sidekick in my Myron Bolitar novels. Win is probably, other than Myron, who's based off me, Win is based off a real person. He's based off still my best friend and college roommate, who has a name equally obnoxious to Windsor Hornlockwood III, is ridiculously good looking, and before we go to parties when we were in college, he would look in the mirror and go, "It must suck to be ugly." So, yeah. And people know it's him because he's actually the president for the golfers in the room. He's the president of Marion Golf Club. He's a member of Pine. So people know who he is because of our friendship. And the real Win can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag, while the fictional Win kills people left and right. But he uses it. Like, he gives people dirty looks, and he gets better tea times and stuff like that. And he used to own a clothing line. You guys, the ladies in the room will probably know it, called Lily Pulitzer, which is very Palm Beach, very what you would imagine Win. So the first time I was going on national TV, he calls me and he says, "Oh, you know, we have a new men's line for ties. You must wear one of my ties on TV." So I tell my publicist, and she goes, "That tie looks like you threw up pink and green." I'm afraid Brian Gumbel's only going to talk about your tie and not the book. So I call Win back, and I say, "I might not be able to wear the tie." And he goes, "Oh, no, no, no. You will wear the tie." And I said, "No, no, no. You're not really Win, remember?" But I wore the tie. And if you've ever seen me on national TV up until he sold the company maybe 3 years ago, I always wore, for 15 years or whatever, I always wore a Lily Pulitzer tie. He came to an event like this in New York a few years ago. I told this story, and then I said, "Guys, I'm going to tell you something. Win is actually in the room right now." It took them 4 seconds to figure out who he was. And he had a longer line to sign books than I did. Thanks for asking. Thank you.
Okay,
Who
my
else?
question is,
Ooh, I love this. The microphone. I keep.
here I
yes.
am.
Hi.
I've read all your books, and one of the things
She's read all my books
all of them,
and hates them.
and I tell everybody before you read Home, read the Mickey Bolitars, because
Yes.
it's the culmination of
Yes.
2 series.
Yes.
They never believed me.
Yeah, you're right.
But I
tell
read
them
this
too.
book in probably 3 hours and loved it.
Thank
And
you.
I did start at 10 o'clock at night, which was a big mistake. what I love is that you have characters who come in, and I only recognized one, Hester.
Right.
And I wondered if the lieutenant, whose name I can't pronounce, and people on Goodreads are complaining, why would you name somebody that? Was he in any of the other books, or was anybody else in this book in other books?
Nap Dumas, who has one scene, was a star of Don't Let Go.
Yes.
He was a star of Don't Let Go. Hester Crimstein is an attorney that I've had in probably 20 books. She's a little over 70 years old, and she's going to be the lead character finally in the next book I'm writing, and has a heck of a romance going on, so it's going to be hot and steamy. Yeah. So I'm looking really forward. I'm having fun writing. Hester's a co-lead with another guy in this book, but she's always had a small part in maybe over 20 novels of mine, maybe more. So, but we never got to know her only as the lawyer, the smart-ass, funny lawyer. So now we get to see her background a little bit, and it's been really fun to explore. The ending of this book, by the way, I should warn you, you're not going to, I can tell you this, you're not going to get it. This book is so twisted. I recently read it, and I had no way. I was completely twisted. I called me on the phone. I said, wow, how'd you do that? My wife wanted to lock me up. Okay, where's the next voice coming out of nowhere?
Here I am. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey. I've read all your books. I love them.
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, did you play basketball?
Did I play basketball?
Because of Myron Bolitar.
Right.
And listening to you talk here today, you are Myron Bolitar. And people would enjoy those books so much. And when you have gone on to the other books, that sense of humor that Myron has is not, they're much more serious, the books you write now. So you have to bring Myron back because you are fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
And your personality
Paterson,
comes out.
New Jersey. Wow.
Yes.
So, writers never like to admit this, but Myron is me with wish fulfillment. You know, he's smarter, he's stronger, he's faster, he's a kinder, he's more loyal, he's all those things. I have him beat in two areas. One, I'm a better dancer, I'll demonstrate later. And two, I'm slightly wiser in the ways of women. We're not talking about any great shakes here. It's like saying syphilis is better than gonorrhea. We're not talking about geniuses here, but I'm wiser, and Myron's love life has always been something of a disaster. And in terms of basketball, Myron's a better basketball player. Though I should point out, in fairness to myself, I was a collegiate All-American basketball player. But before you applaud, or the phone and somebody answers the phone, not to embarrass the person, but I was a collegiate All-American basketball player, but what I leave off of that sentence was, I wasn't picked All-American by the Sports Illustrated. I was picked All-American by the Jewish Post and Opinion of Indianapolis. That's right. I am a Jewish All-American basketball player. That's a joke, and it's not a joke. Somehow, through great and painstaking research, the crack squad at the Jewish Post and Opinion of Indianapolis, Indianapolis being that great bastion of Jewish thought, found 5 Jews who played college basketball that year and made a team. It was me, Heshi Moishe, and 2 guys from Yeshiva. Thank you for asking.
I was going to ask this question before your answer about knowing the ways of women, and I've read almost all of your books, and after today I will quickly be reading the rest. But what was the origin of the character Thumper in Fade Away?
Oh, jeez. First of all, I wrote that book in 1995, I think I wrote that book. And I just made it up. Okay, that's not true. But usually, it was somebody that was at our college that I sort of based Thumper on a little bit. But sometimes, people will ask, like, where you get things. And sometimes the answer is, we just make them up. Like, you don't want to say that, like, as a writer. It's like, when I used to ask George Carlin, the great comedian, what do you do for a living? He said, I make shit up. That's it. Or I remember Steve Martin used to play the banjo with his nose when he used to stand-up comedy. He'd go, the most amazing thing to me is I get paid for doing this. All right. Couple more. Here we go. Yes?
Yeah. Did you go to Wayne High School? And also, what do you do with your notes and revisions when you finish a book?
Did I go to Wayne High School? No, since I lived in Livingston, not Wayne. I went to Livingston High School. What do I do with my notes and revisions? Well, most it's on a computer. So I don't really have them that much anymore, though I do some handwriting, and I put them all in a box, and I'm supposed to donate them to my college. No one will be able to read a word of them. But they think it's fun because also I have phone numbers in there, I have shopping lists, I do whatever. But I said to them, you can have them, but I can look at it. I'll have no idea what I wrote or what it means. There's no organization. I've changed notebooks 3 or 4 times over. I didn't mention this before, but people ask, like, where do you write? I don't have a spot that I write in. Every other writer I know sort of has, or most writers have an office. I use up places. Like, I'll find something that works for a while. It's like riding a horse. I'll ride that horse. The horse dies. I find another horse. I don't worry about the horse. So I go to Starbucks for a while. This is true. About 3 or 4 books ago, I took an Uber into New York City from my home in New Jersey, and I felt tremendous guilt about it. You know how we are. Like, oh, well, it would cost me at least $50 to park in New York City, so really I'm saving money by doing. I'm trying to justify it in my head, But I'm sitting in the back, and I started to write because I was feeling guilty about spending the money, and I wrote really well. So for the next few weeks, I took an Uber every place I went. Yeah. Where's the name? Okay. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Got to stand up. Hi, my name is Helen Bushman, and of course I love your books. But my question is, are you and James Patterson friends?
I know James Patterson. Yeah, we're friends.
Okay. Well, I prefer.
You already passed on a message? I call him Jim Patterson. That's how close we are.
And anyway, you are phenomenal, and your sense of humor is beyond.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Way in the back with the hat on. Yes.
How did you go about getting an agent?
And
how many have you had?
First of all, my information is a little dated since I've been in the business a long time. I've had the same agent since 1997. So the truth of the matter is, I have no idea how to get in it. I have no idea. The world is a different place. It's kind of like asking a guy riding a Model T Ford how to drive a brand new sports car. I have no idea, other than write and send it in. I mean, there's no shortcut and hope somebody finds it and loves it. That's the funny thing. The one in the case is the same. Like, I often asked about, like, well, do you like ebook, or do you want this kind, or hardcover? Or, it's like, I don't care. I'm like a child. Like, I don't know anything business, so when people tell me that Amazon and Barnes, I like stick my fingers, I'm like, nah, I can't hear you. I just write the best book I can. I'm on the content side. And if the book is good enough, you'll read it on stone tablets. So I let everybody else worry about that kind of thing. I'm just worried about making sure that you guys have the best writing, or when you're watching TV shows, which you didn't talk about at all today. I have a couple shows on Netflix, for those who don't know. If you have Netflix, Safe, starring Michael C. Hall, 8 episodes. The Five, starring Tom Cullen, also it's 10 episodes. Sometimes my friends' shows are on there with English subtitles. And I'm doing The Stranger right now in England. We're filming that. And I just signed a 5-year deal to be doing more shows with them. And if you're forgetting the name of the shows, if you put my name in a search engine, they'll pop up magically. So there's my plug for my own shows. Let's do one more question and wrap it up. How's that sound? Because I don't want to keep you nice people too long. You guys have been such a great one.
Can you talk about your apprenticeship as a writer before you were first published?
I had no apprenticeship with any writer. I don't want to say I don't believe in those kind of things. Like, I'm all in favor if you want to go to the Iowa Writers thing or do all that. But the only thing I ever found that really works for writing is writing. So I wrote like 2 or 3 or 4 terrible novels before I had one published. And my first 2 that are published, in fact, some of you probably read them, were so bad, in my view, that I wouldn't let them back into print for over 20 years. And I would fight with the publishers saying, we can really do well. I'm like, no, I don't want to have them back. And finally, the French they offered me a lot of money. And, but what I said is, I'll put these back in print, and if anybody's read Play Dead or Miracle Cure, you may be saw this. I put a letter in the front of the book that says, dear reader, if this is the first one of my books you're reading, please put it back on the shelf. It's not very good. If you're a completist and you want to, go ahead. More power to you, but I don't really like this, blah, blah, blah. I actually explained, and they said, there's no way we're putting that in front of the book. I'm like, then I'm not making the deal. And they put it in front of the book and discouraged nobody. And sometimes I'll get emails going, no, Play Dead's great. You suck now. So you never really know what people are doing. But I've never, I sent it to friends or family in the beginning, but I never had anybody really teach it to me. I think that writing is one of the few activities where quantity will inevitably make quality. You just gotta keep writing. And I don't get people who think it should be easy or that you should have success right away. It's like, if I just right now came out, I don't care how big and strong and fast you are, if you go out in a basketball court now and you've never touched a basketball before, you're not gonna be very good at it. Why would you be good at writing? So I just encourage you, if you want to write, you just keep writing. And the hardest part is to turn off the little voice inside your head that tells you that you stink. Even though I have that voice, I pile through it. Because you can always do, if you do a quick first draft, you can always then rewrite it. Rewriting is a great activity. I often say that you can fix bad pages, you can't fix no pages. So just get those down. Yeah, we have one more question? I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. My favorite writer, Philip Roth was. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to end with the process, the educational process. As a teacher of English literature to high school students, do you have a story about the teacher who sparked your creativity and the one who tried to squelch it? Or in the process, when did you first know that you liked writing and wanted to be a writer?
That's an interesting question. I think most of my high school teachers, like my 8th grade English teacher was just at my last book signing, I think they turn over in their collective graves and I'm a writer. I think it surprises a lot of them. I wasn't necessarily, I was mostly known, frankly, as a basketball player, and I was like that kind of a person when I was younger. I liked to read a lot, but I didn't really know I was going to be a writer or even have an inkling about that until I was in college. But there was a teacher when I was, say, in 4th and 5th grade who really encouraged us to read books that we loved rather than books that they thought we would love. You know, so it was the Narnia series, Madeline Engel's Wrinkle in Time, Alexander Key's Forgotten Door, those kind of books. So I would encourage you to let kids, I never read Hardy Boys. And everybody goes, oh, the Hardy Boys. No, I never read, that kind of thing. And actually my very, very first scary book, do you guys remember P.D. Eastman's Are You My Mother, the little picture book? What the hell was up with that book? Right? The mother bird leaves his baby all alone. The baby's walking around asking dogs and cats if they're his mother. Yet the big diesel truck comes up along. Remember, I'm like, what the hell? That's scary as hell. That was my first missing person story, right there. In closing, I think it's time you want to close. In closing, I just want to give you one quick example of how to develop a character through dialogue. This is a text. By the way, you can't tell my wife I told you this part, all right? This is a text message between my wife and my oldest daughter. It's literally, it's wife, daughter, 4 things, and you will see that just from that little bit of dialogue I'm going to give you in text, how you get their entire relationship. Again, you can't tell them. Okay, so here we go. Mother, why are you home? Daughter, stomach wasn't feeling well. Mother, mine too. Diarrhea? Daughter, bye. Thank you all very, very much. You guys were great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Every book purchased today, I'm donating $5. Any Runaways purchased, I'm donating $5 to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research and Pony Power Therapies, which does writing for children in need. Thank you very much. All right, and grab the fresh water.